KK and today we're gonna talk about MuTeLuv Hi by My Like. This is the first part of the series MuTeLuv, which has 7 stories and each of them has 4 episodes. I decided that I will record about every single one of them separately because they're not connected at all. You can totally watch them separately. I record them in the same order how they were on air. Hi by My Like is a BL story about Err and Mawin, who are the best in their school, and as school representatives they're going on mathematics camp where they fell in love. Another important part of the story, and in general the person in this, is a mysterious fortune teller. It was pretty light show about teenage love with great chemistry, since we have Seh and Kin here, with well-written characters and teenagers acting like actual teenagers. I think the main target probably were teenagers, but I think that everyone in every age can enjoy this show. It has also very comfy vibes, so if you're looking for something light, short, but still really good, then I think that would be a perfect choice. Okay, now let's come to spoiler part. I like both our main characters. They were such a cuties, but also they had their problems. When it comes to I felt so sorry for him during this whole story, how much he was pressuring himself to be the best, and that even if he knew something, he knew the answer for the question, then he always doubted himself and he was looking for someone else to say it loud. When he met Mawin, then need to be probably frustrating for him when for Mawin studying was something which looked easy and natural when I was spending hours and almost all day studying. He barely had time for anything else. Good that he still had time for his friends with who he had really nice relation. From the start we could see that I was a very nice and kind person, and even when he was talking about rivalry between him and Mawin, that it never was targeted on Mawin, like it wasn't with full of hate or stuff like this, but it was more targeted on him, that he need to be better, he need to study more, etc., which was really sad actually. But even if it broke my heart to see him so anxious and pressuring himself so much because of people's expectations towards him, then I was really happy that they put something like this in the story and that it could give pretty much life lesson, especially adults who are parents or teachers and who in general work with teenagers or kids, because it's very often unfortunately that teenagers or kids start to see their worth only thanks to grades, won championships or some awards, and it shouldn't be like this. At the end of the day, grades or the amount of awards, it's not important. The most important is what kind of people they are, their knowledge and their skill, not if they win something thanks to this or not. Here entirely fault is on adults who are pressuring those kids and who start to keep telling them and showing them basically that their worth depends from the grades. For example, like in this case, we had this scene somewhere in the beginning, maybe even in the first episode, when Err won the place in this mathematics camp. He called to his mom and he told her that he made it, and his mom was like, oh great, but you said that it will be hard to get the first place. And we could see how immediately his whole excitement disappeared and he started to be anxious again, which shouldn't look like this. She should be happy for him because he did it thanks to his skills and knowledge. But during this whole story we could see how tough it was for him, and it is for many students to keep being better, because when they grade, then teachers and parents really often expect even more and more, and it can turn out even tragically for those kids because they would start to pressure themselves even more, they would be anxious all the time, they can even get depressed because of it. And the thing about Err, which we could see, was that he was very lovely and caring person. For example, during their test, he was worried about Mawin, that because of Err, that badminton is definitely not his strong side, that Mawin can have problem and will not pass the exam, which was pretty lovely. Also because of the dynamic from the start, we could see very well how not only teenagers but people in general have this tendency to see everything through their lens only. Here, Ed thought about Mawin that he's his enemy, that they're rivals, and because of it he also thought that Mawin looked at him the same way, when I think that before they came to the camp, Mawin didn't even pay much attention to Ed, especially that we could see that unfortunately he kind of gave up on having friends. He had no idea how to do this, and he probably treated Ed exactly the same like as a student, that he didn't pay much attention to them. I mean, okay, he paid a lot of attention to them because he was observing them, but he probably didn't pay more attention to Ed than to others. I feel really sorry for during this whole camp because it looked like he barely enjoyed it because he again was pressuring himself to study all the time, be the best, and again it broke my heart how much he was doubting himself because we could see that he knew answer. He was very quick to get it, but he always doubted himself that maybe it's not the best, and he always was waiting until someone else gave the answer. Also, special mention for S blanket because it was so cute and that he was going on class with it, and also it was lovely that the teachers had nothing against it. Mawin also is such a cutie, but poor baby, he was so shy that it was hard for him to get friends, even if, especially during the camp, we could see that he would love to have a group of friends, but yeah, it can be tough for introverts, and he definitely was one. I was very curious before they show it, of course, how it's possible that Mawin is so smart because we couldn't see him reading or actually studying, so I was very curious how he was doing this, and I also expected that it will be somehow connected with what he's listening, but yeah, when he showed that he's listening radio, it makes so much sense because he was listening about different topics, so he was getting a new knowledge. But I guess that for him also it could be a starting point that he heard about something in the radio. Later he maybe, when he got interested about something, he made his own research, and thanks to this he got even more knowledge. I like Mawin advices for students when he was a fortune teller, especially for who, thanks to Mawin, got some sleep and his brain could have some break from study, because Ed was clearly that kind of student who, no matter how much they will study, then they always feel like they don't know everything, and that they definitely wouldn't pass because there will be something which they don't know, so they think that if they will keep studying all the time and until the very late hour, then it will be good, but it's not because it's exhausting, and also brain need a break to collect all the knowledge that it got. Later during the test, exam, or whatever, people can be even too exhausted to focus on it. So I really like that thanks to Mawin, or back then a fortune teller, finally got some sleep, and he takes some time to relax his body and his mind, which is really important. I love it so much that and Mawin help each other in a good way, that thanks to Mawin, got way more confident in his skills and his knowledge, but at the same time helped Mawin with having friends and open himself for others. I especially love it how much Mawin was trying to show that he has a knowledge, he's really good in this. For example, when he was preparing this tough task for him to solve, and the only person who is stopping him from everything is himself, because he had a knowledge, he was really smart, and he was working so hard on this, but yeah, unfortunately this poor baby was extremely anxious. Still, it's so funny for me that they got close only because Ben's weird interpretation of what fortune teller said, and still, to be honest, I have no idea how Ben's even come up with this idea. In general, when it comes to Ben's, Mhee and I absolutely love this trio, and Benz in general as a character, because he was such a great friend and so supportive for A especially. I absolutely love how he was keep repeating A, that he's smart, that for him he's the smartest and stuff like this, and he always was ready to be there for A. This is how friendship should look like. First, when those teenagers start to see each other as rivals and they play together and enjoy this time in the camp, I was really happy for them. It was very wholesome scene, but yeah, later they had this stupid meeting when Monkball and others said mostly bad things about Mawin, which frustrated me so much because they just assumed that he didn't put in effort. In general, they talk about him like he's a genius and he's smart and he's getting knowledge. It's like it was some kind of crime when it's not. And I felt so extremely sorry for Mawin that he heard all of it, especially after he started to open himself for other people. And I was so proud of him that he did it, but yeah, unfortunately it turned out so bad for him. And the moment when he came to the room, he took his earphones and left. It need to cost him so much, and it was such a heartbreaking scene. But during the meeting, I was proud and happy for me that he stood up for Mawin and he told those people that what they're doing is wrong and they shouldn't act like this, that this is pretty weird and sick, that they saying things like this, like they deserve to get the award more than Mawin or whoever else. Also, I feel really sorry for Ed because after what Mokpo said, it looked like he seriously was his spy, but we know that it wasn't true, so I was happy that he immediately went after Mawin. He sat near his bed and he told him that he's not alone. I'm still not sure if Mawin heard it, but if he heard it, then I'm sure that it meant a lot for him. Even if he could be disappointed with at that point, and that would be very understandable, then still, I think that especially in that kind of moment, it was important for him that was there, and he assured him that he is there for him, and that, their whole friendship and what happened between them wasn't fake. I was happy and relieved when I found Mawin after he disappeared, but it broke my heart so much when Mawin said that Monko was right and he should be alone when it wasn't true. And it broke my heart so much because he had so much to offer to others and he was such a precious person, but unfortunately, in their age, people are very fragile and really often they work from what other people think about them. Those teenagers treated him horrible, and even if I understand that I was frustrated and he had the right to be mad and act like this, and I don't like that he told Mawin that he shouldn't think about others and that they don't like them, like it wasn't true, after how they literally were talking behind his back, and yeah, they were saying bad things about him and pretty much show that they don't like him, which was rude. And okay, even if later they apologize, which was good, and that they understand that they were wrong, then still damage was done already and they can't take it back. But yeah, the moment when I went to cry so hard for this student, the teacher just show up. I think that it was very needed in that moment. Also, I like how the teacher behaved in that situation, that he didn't deduct their points, but still showed them that they were wrong, they shouldn't do something like this. And he punished them making the laundry, but it wasn't discouraging for them or made them feel bad. Like I said, I don't want to be harsh on those teenagers because, first of all, they realized later how bad they were and they apologized Mawin, which is really good reaction. I'm more mad at adults who put this idea to their head that they need to be the best no matter what, and that it will be, I don't know, the end of the world if they wouldn't get the first place, because that was the bad part. And also because of it, I'm not the biggest fan of the teachers on this camp, because they also played a part that those teenagers were so cruel for each other. And okay, not every person in the room thought the same as Monk, but doesn't change the fact that many of them thought like this and it wasn't good. In general, when it comes to Monkpa, okay, she later got better and she realized that she was wrong, but that kind of teenagers, adults need to be very careful with them, because when they will grow up they can be a very bad person, even dangerous, since they could be so ruthless and cruel already as kids and teenagers. And okay, I'm not saying that Monkpor was one of the worst human possible, okay, but she showed some sign that she can be very cruel in the future if she wouldn't change. And in that kind of moments, adults should help teenagers, because kids and teenagers, they're like this, that they copy what they see and hear from adults, because why they wouldn't believe adults if they keep living like this. So the way how they act, kids and teenagers think that it's okay and that's the norm, it should be like this, they should act like this. Nowadays, okay, younger generation get their own knowledge not only from adults, but their parents, teachers, and people who theoretically they should respect. But sometimes we know that it's hard. But yeah, if they would hear stuff like this, that I know grades are the most important, of course they would believe in this and they would do everything to get it, when it can turn very bad for them. Because of it, adults should be very careful what they say and the way how they act towards their kids. Good that those kids were clearly more mature than adults and they realized on their own how bad they are. I like this another myth that they had when they talk about how they act, that it was wrong, and especially that they didn't ostracize Monkpor and weren't mean for her, but understand her, but at the same time include Mawin in this, and that they really make a harm. That later they apologize him, they showed in their own way to him that they really feel sorry for it. But even after all of it, when Mawin said that he feel like he steals someone's spot, it broke my heart, because if he was the best, then he deserved to get an award. It's so easy as this. If someone else would be better, then that person deserves to get it. And this is why I think that the teachers in this camp in general wasn't the best idea, because it made those kids pressure themselves so much, even start to hate each other so much, when those teachers should show them that what they got during the camp was more important, that they enjoy it, they get new knowledge, they can study together, they get new friends and stuff like this, and that after all, the award is just for one person, yes, but it's not that important, that they should focus more on everything what they went through, during this, and how much they experienced new stuff on those positive stuff, not only about studying and pressuring themselves and need to be the best. I like that part when Mawin and Ted did the laundry, that they were talking about their goals, about the future and stuff like this. And on the same time, this scene was very sad when Mawin said that he never had a friend, but also I was happy when he said that the best thing that happened to him is that he befriended with Err. It was so cute, and also their first kiss, it was absolutely adorable. And it was one of the best first kisses I have ever seen, definitely the most natural, that they hide it, they kiss, it was absolutely adorable. When it comes to what Mawin did with the exam, I'm not sure what I think about it, because from one side I understand him why he acted like this, and also what kind of logic was behind it. I'm not sure if that was even that much about it, but he had few reasons to act like this. One of those was that he felt like he's stealing someone's place if he would actually win it, which was really sad, because if he had enough knowledge, if he would be the best, then he totally deserved to get it. But we also could see that he never really cared about his competition. But also it broke my heart so much that they argued so hard, and that after they come back from the camp, it literally come back how it was before they went to the camp and before they befriended with each other, when other students find out that Mawin is the fortune teller and that they were so mean for him, which I don't really understand, because okay, I understand why they felt light, even and yes, they had right to feel like this, but at the same time, if Mawin advices were good, then why they didn't just befriend with him and try to understand him, talk with him? But it turned out like this, and I feel so extremely sorry for both of them. But at least had his family and he had his friends, so for him it definitely was a little bit easier. But for Mawin, it broke my heart so much to see that he was completely alone again. And okay, there are people who are completely fine with it and they even prefer to be alone, but we could see that Mawin wasn't like this. He was really happy when he was in the camp, when he enjoyed the time with his friends from there, and that he finally felt like he belonged, so he clearly wanted to have friends, but he just didn't know how to do this. And it broke my heart to tell like this for him, especially that okay, people in the school, fine, I get it why they were like this, but it broke my heart when that even people from the camp never reached to him after the camp. Maybe they feel ashamed after how they treated him, but still I felt so terribly sorry for him. And also that in all of it, probably the worst was that Err wasn't talking with him and he was mad at him. But I don't understand why Mawin didn't mention the letter when they had an argument after they come back to school, because if he would mention this, then Err would be confused first probably. But if he would know, then they could be friends already, or maybe even a couple back then. After I found that letter, and Mawin explained there that he always just wanted to help people, and he did it at the end. And with it complicated so much because of Ben's interpretation actually. But yeah, seriously, it was so frustrating that they didn't talk after the camp. I mean, okay, they talked, they had an argue, but that found the letter so late. And I don't blame either of them for what happened, but yeah, I'm just sad because they could have a nice time after this, but that way it turned out like that. I was very proud of Mawin after he take this extra class, that he found friends, so natural how it should be. And sometimes unfortunately it is like this, that when we are teenagers and kids, we don't have friends because we don't know how to do this, or people don't want to be friends with us, or people are mean for us, unfortunately, because they made up something and later they believe in this. So yeah, I was happy for Mawin that he finally could experience this, but at the same time it was sad for me that he never experienced this teenage friendship, which is really nice experience, especially when you have a good group of friends. But I was happy that after all he found friends and he finally could see how it is. But at the same time, I was sad that he couldn't share it with Err, and that scene when he looked at their messages and he started to cry, I felt so terribly sorry for him. But yeah, good that this story was so short after all, and everything solved in the same episode, because I definitely wouldn't want to suffer with them and I don't want them to suffer. So yeah, I'm very happy that after all everything turned out good for them. They talk about the misunderstanding, and in general they share their feelings, they become a couple again, and I hope so that in their universe they will be happy for many years. Okay, now let's come to conclusion. I think it was absolutely adorable story which shows good values, and also from technical point it was great, chemistry was amazing, acting was really good, characters and story were well written. So yeah, I definitely highly recommend it. Of course I would love to spend more time with them, but even if it was so short, then I think that it was well executed, because we watching this we don't feel like it's rushed, so that's really good with such a short production. And yeah, Err and Mawin definitely will stay in my heart, because from all shows that I've watched with Seh and Keen, I think this one is my favorite, and especially Err and Mawin are definitely my favorite characters played by Seh and Keen. So yeah, that's all I'm gonna say about the series. Now it's your turn. Please tell me in the comment section what do you think about the series, who is your favorite character or characters, and just share your thoughts. Thank you so much for spending your precious time with me today. Please remember to take care of yourself and others, and about the stuff going on around the world, because we all are connected. I hope that you will have many reasons to smile, and we will see each other in the next video. Bye bye!